and absolutely demystify one of the most fundamental, yet somehow most misunderstood, tools in the English language. I'm talking about the present simple tense. Now, you might be thinking, hey, I know this one, but mastering the actual underlying mechanics of this tense, it honestly changes everything. It's literally the difference between sounding like a stiff textbook and speaking with this natural, effortless fluency. When you get this right, your entire communication structure just levels up.
So, we are pulling our insights today directly from an incredibly comprehensive grammar lecture. And what's super cool about it is that it uses this brilliant bilingual framework incorporating Arabic meanings to make the concepts just crystal clear. We aren't just talking about dry theory here, it's packed with practical rules and examples that you actually need to navigate everyday conversations. It's really a fantastic resource for locking down these core fundamentals.
Okay, we need to shatter a massive misconception right out of the gate. Despite the word present being right there in the name, this tense is absolutely not just for things happening right now, at this exact second. That's a trap so many of us fall into. It is actually way broader than that. This is the tense that handles our daily habits, undeniable facts, and believe it or not, even our future schedules. You really want to think of it as the foundation of your reality, not just a quick snapshot of the current moment.
So here is our quick roadmap for the explainer. We'll start with what the present simple actually is. Then we'll look at forming your sentences, after that, the 7 main uses, and we'll wrap up with time expressions and spelling.
All right, Section 1. What is the present simple? Breaking the right now myth. Let's officially clarify what this tense means, and more importantly, what it doesn't.
This perfectly illustrates the fundamental difference. I like to think of the present simple like a calendar. When we say she walks to school, it means she does this regularly, right? It's a routine. It happens week in and week out. On the flip side, think of the present continuous as an hourglass. She is walking to school means she is literally taking those steps right at this very moment, and the sand is actively running out. Present simple anchors us in regularities, not fleeting moments. It's all about the big picture.
Moving on to Section 2. Forming your sentences, or as I like to call it, the visual math of grammar. Let's look at the formulas you need to build these sentences correctly every single time.
So the crucial takeaway here is this structural formula. For subjects like I, you, we, or they, it is delightfully simple. You just use the base verb, I work every day, or we play football. You don't change a single thing, but the moment your subject shifts to he, she, or it, what grammar nerds call the third-person singular, you trigger a strict rule. You absolutely must add an s, es, or ies to the end of the verb, so it becomes he works in Cairo or she plays tennis. It's a completely non-negotiable formula, but once you map it out, it's easy. And honestly, getting that one tiny letter right makes all the difference in sounding like a native speaker.
But what happens when we want to make a sentence negative? Well, we can't just toss the word not in there and cross our fingers. We have to recruit helper verbs. We use do not, or its much more common conversational short form, don't, for our base subjects, so we play seamlessly transforms into we don't play. And for he, she, and it, we bring in does not or doesn't, so he works becomes he doesn't work. These little helper verbs do all the heavy lifting to flip the meaning of our sentences.
Now listen closely, because this is an insider secret where so many learners trip up. Once you use that helper word doesn't for he, she, or it, you must strip the s right off your main verb. Why? Because the word does is already carrying that s weight for you. So it is always she doesn't work. Never ever she doesn't works. It's kind of like a double negative if you add the s twice. Let that rule really sink in, because mastering it will instantly elevate your English.
All right, Section 3, the 7 main uses. Let's transition from the nuts and bolts into practical applications and see where this tense really comes to life in the real world.
First up, daily routines. The alarm rings and I wake up at 6 a.m. It's literally the soundtrack to our habits. Second, undeniable scientific facts like water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. But the third use? This one's a bit surprising. We use it to talk about the future when we're referring to fixed scheduled events. If you say, the train leaves at 8:15 a.m., you're using the present tense because that timetable is so locked in, it's treated as a present fact. The train hasn't left yet, but the schedule is a permanent reality.
It is also your go-to tool for expressing states of being and static emotions. I love chocolate ice cream is a permanent state of mind, right? You don't just love it for 5 seconds. Plus,
When you're giving someone clear step-by-step instructions, like if a tourist is hopelessly lost and asking for directions, you rely entirely on the present simple. Turn left at the traffic lights, then go straight. It is direct, it's commanding, and it leaves absolutely no room for confusion.
It also adds this vivid, dramatic immediacy to news headlines. President signs new climate deal just feels urgent and alive, doesn't it? And crucially, it anchors our conditional if statements about the future. This is a big one. Think about the phrase, if it rains tomorrow, I will stay home. Notice that? We use the present simple word rains right after the word if to set up the future condition. We don't say, if it will rain. We lock that condition into the present simple to build a rock-solid foundation for whatever future action we're talking about.
Finally, Section 4, Time Expressions and Spelling. Let's zoom in on the granular details, specifically the signal words that trigger this tense, and how to nail those tricky spelling endings.
When you hear frequency adverbs like always, usually, or rarely, I want you to consider them massive structural clues. They act as signal words, basically flashing a neon sign telling you an action is a habit, and that means the present simple is almost certainly the right tense to use. For example, she rarely eats fast food. Notice how these words usually slide right in immediately before the main verb to set the frequency. They are absolutely your best friends when you're trying to figure out which tense to use on the fly during a fast-paced conversation.
Now, consider these rules your ultimate spelling cheat sheet. Remember that tricky he, she, it rule we talked about? Well, if your base verb ends in sounds like sh, ch, x, or o, you must add an es for it to sound right phonetically. Try saying washes without the e. It just doesn't work. So wash becomes washes, and go becomes goes. And if you have a consonant followed by a y, like in the word study, you got to do a little visual math. You drop the y entirely and add ies, making it studies. It takes a bit of practice, sure, but once you learn these patterns, they really do become second nature.
Before we completely wrap this up, I've got to give you one vital warning. The incredibly common verbs have and be are totally rebellious. They completely refuse to follow the standard S formulas we just learned. For he, she, and it, have becomes has, never haves. And be transforms into is, so please, I'm begging you, never say bees. We use these verbs constantly, so memorizing their unique, irregular forms is just an absolute must.
So, armed with the visual formulas, those 7 diverse real-world uses, and the rule-breaking exceptions, you now have a complete master map of the present simple tense. You can see it's really not just about right now. It's quite literally about the structure of our lives. So the question is, how quickly are you going to start spotting these patterns in your conversations today? I challenge you to notice the next time a headline grabs your attention or someone mentions a train timetable. The structures are everywhere, just waiting for you to use them. Keep listening, keep noticing, and watch your fluency